Start the video. Here's the on now.
Are we ready? My name is John Estrada, and I'm here with the broadcast of Conservative Roundtable. Today is going to be a great show. We're going to have Richard Cabral. We'll be talking about the various political issues. He is a very, very expert in the Second Amendment. And that's the Bill of Rights for people that might not know that. We need to focus on protecting those rights, the Second Amendment, and all the Bill of Rights, because without a good Bill of Rights, it would be very, very difficult for us to keep our government away from doing bad things to us. My name is John Estrada. We have a program here, Conservative Roundtable. If you want to call in, the number is 702-983-0711, or you can call my cell phone at 559-803-0555. We'd like to hear from you, and we'd like to see what your thinking is regarding our political situation today. Like I said before, my name is John Estrada, and with Conservative Roundtable. If you want to get in touch with me, I think that's Richard right there. Let me go ahead and see if I click this on. Right. Richard Cabral?
That's his guy.
All right, very good. That's Richard Cabral, live from San Bernardino, California. Richard, welcome to Conservative Roundtable.
Hey, John, thank you for having me.
I really do appreciate your time, Richard. You've been a friend for many, many years, and you do awesome work for America, and thank you for your service. You're a U.S. military veteran, and before we go on to the topics of the day, I really like for the people of Conservative Roundtable and the Conservative America Broadcast Network know who Richard Cabral is, and what you're up to. Richard?
Well, you know, John, first of all, I used to live up there, and I call it the Bible Belt. I lived in Vice City for about 14 years, made a lot of friends, and got offered a job working for the NRA, and I had to be in Southern California, so I moved down here. And worked for them for a couple of years, and decided to go on my own and do other things. But it has been, you know, one thing about living in this country, and I learned a long time ago, that, and my father had made it pretty clear, you know, he served in the Marine Corps in the Pacific. I served in the Marine Corps and the Army. But my father, when he came home after World War II, if anybody ever saw that movie about the Marine Corps done by HBO, it was called Pacific. That gives you an idea what my father went through, because he fought on Iwo Jima, Tinian, Tarawa. He fought on 4 of the islands, and he got himself quite a few medals and 3 Purple Hearts. But you know, one thing is, and this is, I guess, the difference between, we grew up in the 50s, 60s. I guess they call us the baby boomers, and the millennials today. The difference between us and some of the issues that we're having today. In my household, we are 3rd generation of Mexican descent, Portuguese Mexican descent. But my father made it clear that you are nothing. First, you're an American. You recognize 3 colors: red, white, and blue. That is your flag. You're American. Anything else after that is entirely up to the way you want to look at it. But it wasn't easy growing up back there then, because, you know, even if we were still all Americans, there was people that were bigots. I mean, there's just nothing you can do about it, even to this present day. There's just nothing you can do about it. So now that I've said my piece about, you know, bigotry and being American, I love America. I served 22 years in 2 branches of the military. Was involved with 3 different wars. contractor in Iraq in 2006 as a civilian. And one of the things you learn about war-torn countries is that if you don't own a gun, you're going to die. It's pretty simple. They don't have a Second Amendment like we do, or we still have it, I think. It's been quite a tour, not only as an American, as a military guy. I love the military. If my body could still do it, the mind says let's go, but you can't do it anymore. Just can't. And what's going on today, I think I'm terribly concerned about it. I am a gun owner, even that got involved with some manufacturing for gun parts.
Let's talk about your business a little bit. I'd like to know about your company and some contact information on any board that's listening.
Well, the first thing, if they're interested in looking at our website, it's Short Rifles, that's plural, shortrifles.com. You'll get the story and what I did. We'll only make a stock for one specific rifle at this time. We're looking at two other ones, but they'll be made in a polymer instead of aluminum billet. One of the things that I did, or I did with other people, is over the many years of the military, I got to carry an M14, which is a .308 caliber. Some people may not know what that is, but all you got to do is just go to my website and you'll get a pretty good story on it. And during the Vietnam War, it was replaced by what we call the M16. Have a lot of different names, Mattel toys. It had everything, but it was a small caliber. To make the long story short, they replaced the M14, which is a .30 caliber, with a high capacity, what we call high capacity 30-round magazine, in auto or semi-auto. You have a selector switch, which makes it a machine gun, which is illegal in California. Now, to see if people understand, there's a difference between semi-auto and full auto. The bureaucrats, before I get there, I'll get to them later. Anyway, the two guns, the M16 replaced the M14, which in my opinion was a terrible mistake. The M14 shoots a .30 caliber cartridge with a 147 grain bullet, and the 22 or the M16 shot what we call a 223, Remington 223 or 5.56 NATO, shoots a 55 grain bullet. Now this is back then, so if anybody's thinking about what we're shooting today, I'm not talking about today. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But back then we only had the 55 grain bullet. The problem we had back then is the bullet was so small that you had to shoot the bad guys 4 or 5 times. So if you did some simple math, the engineering behind it, and I call it McNamara and his whiz kids, they figured that if there's 30 cartridges in a magazine, that means 30 dead guys. Well, that may be true as long as you shoot them all in the head, but that's not the case. That's not the way war works.
Yes. And
the problem was you had to shoot the bad guys 5 or 6 times. So when you do the math, let's just say you have to shoot them 5 times. That's 6 dead guys.
Yes.
Now, the M14, on the other hand, had 20 rounds. Not as many rounds, but 1 round would put these guys down. So that means there's 20 dead guys in the magazine.
So basically the best process would be 1 shot, 1 kill.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a sniper creed there. Yes. Anyway, just to get on to make a long story short, is the biggest issue we had with the M16 was malfunction. That everything that you could possibly imagine went wrong with that gun. There was guys bayoneted to death with their guns tore apart because they didn't shoot. I'm not a big fan of that gun, even to this present day, even with all the hundreds of millions, and I'm talking millions of dollars, not only the government spent, but other companies. Now, I'm not saying the gun's not good today, but even today, most of the guys that served them in our sandbox were not happy during a sandstorm. That gun had a 50-50 chance of malfunctioning because it didn't like to get dirty.
Yes.
That's all there was to it. The design of the M14 was made a copy of the M1 Garand, which was used during World War II, and the rotating bolt system didn't particularly care if it got dirty. It's designed the rotating bolt system like the AK-47. So anyway, the rotating bolt system didn't care one way or the other if it got dirty. Its failure rate was nowhere close to the M16.
Wow.
Anyway, over the many years, since 1960 and mid-century, they have pioneered and engineered a lot of stuff for this gun. It is still not on my top 5 list. I don't like the gun. I don't care for the gun. So when I was in Iraq in 2006, I was up at C-11. That was called Camp Colwell. It was 28 miles from the border of Iran, which was not what you call comforting.
Sure.
But anyway, as a contractor, you get to carry a lot of the stuff you want, and of course, of mine was the M14, or the SOCOM that I had. Anyway, the thing was that I was just shocked of how many M14s were in the country. Every time I went to a town hall or ran into these guys out in the field or at a different base, these rifles were everywhere. And I'm asking these guys, why you guys got these old things out here? This one kid looks at me and he says, it was about 130. We're standing by his up-armored Humvee, and he looks at me and he says, well, I'll tell you why I carry this gun. You never have to clean it. It never ever malfunctions, and you only have to shoot them once.
Wow.
I laughed a little bit, and then he says to me, now, if this thing was a foot shorter, everybody would want one. The problem was that thing was 44 inches long, and it's hard to manipulate it in the front seat of a Hummer.
Yes.
Anybody that's ever sat in a Hummer knows that there's not a lot of room in those vehicles.
Yes.
Especially when they're up-armored. Anyway, I got hurt over there 6 months later, and during my recuperation, I decided to go ahead and make a stock to shorten that particular rifle. Because everybody seemed to like it and had a good reputation. Its reputation is legendary. So I designed a stock, and we call it a Bulldog.
Bulldog.
And it went through 4 generations. You'll see that on the website. And finally, the combat version, which is the G4. The G2 was tested in Afghanistan. The G3 was tested in Iraq. And the SEALs were the ones that liked it the most. They had a lot of M14s.
Wow.
So they got back with me, and we re-engineered 2 and 3 to be more combat worthy. And as a matter of fact, the company up in Fresno actually did all the engineering.
Wow, cool.
For it. And after it was done, we manufactured about 400 of these. And the military owns about half of them, law enforcement owns the other, a good portion of them. Civilians own, I'd say probably 30% of them. And they're extremely accurate, they're short, and it shortens the rifle a foot. That's the whole concept, is to be able to have a 30 caliber, semi-automatic, or full auto in the military, and have it in the front seat of a vehicle that you can actually manipulate. Because the 308 will stop a car. It'll go through an engine block.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Where the M16 just wouldn't. So anyway, that's kind of the engineer that went into that. Right now we're looking at making it. The biggest problem I had with it was extremely expensive to make.
So if somebody wanted to,
right?
yeah, if somebody wanted to take more information, I know you had mentioned it before, but if you can mention it again, and also your telephone number, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, they can reach me at 909-338-2577. I'm down here at San Bernardino. We're incorporated in Wyoming now. We're planning on, hopefully things work out, we'll be leaving California next year. The election is going to dictate what we're going to do.
Well, I don't know if I told you this, Richard, but I am broadcasting now out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, very good.
And the reason I'm doing that is, as you know, it's a swing state. And this Nevada may be the deciding factor in this election for Donald Trump. And so we're broadcasting. This is a social broadcast network. And I've got a couple of signs behind me that say, Trump, Pence, make America great again.
Well, that's great. You know, the thing that after watching and listening to, I'm just going to call them out. You know, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all in bed with the Clintons.
Oh, yes.
They're as corrupt as they are. And I have absolutely no use. I stopped watching just about anything that they're televising. I'm not all happy with the NFL. I'm not at all happy with the way they've handled this whole thing about the flag.
Well, yeah, I think that's a very good topic to start out with, the NFL and this guy Colin Kaepernick, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
My butt, as far as I'm concerned. You know what? These guys get paid millions of dollars, and they never served. My whole thinking is that what they ought to do is take off that uniform and put them in some LD, put them in a GI's uniform with some padding and tack and whatever rifle they're going to carry, and put their ass out on the front line. No, matter of fact, put them on point. And then they might learn what this is all about. The idea of these spoiled brats acting like that makes me sick. I don't watch the NFL anymore. I don't watch NASCAR anymore. I'm happy what NASCAR did with the Stars and Bars flag.
Yeah.
You can't wear that flag over to a NASCAR event because they say it's racist. These guys, nobody's doing their homework about history.
Yeah.
And the trouble is with most of the Democrats, I call them the Walking Dead, which you can see them every Sunday. They vote with their emotions, and they don't think. They don't do their homework. They don't do research. Go and do. Hey, I'm a Rush baby. As far as I'm concerned, Rush Limbaugh has nailed everything right. But he's on the money 99% of the time.
Yeah.
All you got to do, if you hate the guy, listen to him and prove him wrong. That's what I did.
Exactly.
Back in the 80s. My parents didn't like him.
Well,
they voted. They're Democrats, but they voted Republican.
Yeah. Hey, Richard, I do really want to say to you, I follow your lead in this, that you were very, very close to your father, like I was very close to my father. And these are the heroes that really were United States military veterans. And that's why we stand up and salute the flag. That's why we stand up and salute the national anthem.
That's exactly it. This is not about football. It's to show respect and honor those, and all the heroes are buried.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Honoring and saluting them so that we can say thank you for your sacrifice. Not about playing football. It ain't about football.
Yeah.
Any more than the Second Amendment is about hunting. It is not about hunting.
Yeah.
It's about being able to defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Exactly.
And that's exactly where we're at now.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. There is, California, as you know, is a disaster. You have Republicans over there acting like Democrats. It's just, and so I figured there's nothing I can do for California, so I figured I'd come over to Nevada and see if I can help out over here. Unfortunately, you got the Republican Party fighting one another. What do you think about that?
This is not about, people think it's really not so much about the party. These guys are terrified that if Trump wins and gets elected, they're going to lose all that cush stuff they get. Their cush job, all the extra money that they make,
the perks.
Everything they do. As far as I'm concerned, you can eliminate all of them, both parties, and start all over again.
Well, nowhere in the U.S. Constitution do they have any mention of any Democrat or Republican. Yeah,
well, that's true. And another thing, these guys are making laws that technically, according to the Constitution, they really can't make.
Yeah.
There are servants, and they forgot who they work for. And the problem is that the American public, or at least half of them, which I consider them the other half the Democrats, they think that they're going to listen to these fools because they tell them to do something.
Yeah.
That's why I call them the Walking Dead. They're not thinking. If you just look at Hillary's background and her husband's background, my God, what more proof do you need?
Yeah. It's amazing.
And the funny thing is they talk about morality. They're all over Trump about this moral issue, about what he said. These guys are the defenders of the immoral acts in every act of Congress that you can think of.
Well, it would seem that if Hillary Rodham Clinton gets elected, we will forget about our constitutional rights. I don't think
you're right, and you know what? when you hear George Bush, all the Bushes, who are going to support Hillary, what does that tell you? See, it's no longer about the party. It is about their own personal elitist mentality.
Yes.
They could care less about us. The sooner they can put us in some camp, the happier they're going to be.
Yeah, I think that that's their plan, the haves and the have-nots, and, if you're not an elitist, look out. It doesn't care.
It's a lot of people of Mexican descent, and I'm just going to refer to them as Mexicans.
Yeah.
The Mexicans don't like to be called Hispanic, and they don't like to be called Latino. They're Mexicans.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, a lot of them come over here through the legal channels, and I wish them the best of luck to become an American citizen, because they see the benefits of being an American. The problem is that you have a large portion of them coming over here illegally and carrying drugs and creating this havoc that we have in this country. Now, there's no doubt, like the president over there said, well, if the Americans didn't desire all these drugs, we probably wouldn't be, the cartel wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty crummy analogy,
Yeah.
It sounds like the Mexican Robin Hood steals from the rich and keeps it.
Yeah.
So I find that some of the stuff a bit absurd. And I go back to, I don't know if anybody's ever done the genealogy and where they came from, where their whole ancestry comes from. My great-grandfather rode with Pancho Villa.
Wow.
Zapata. He was a colonel.
Mm-hmm.
I looked him up, I got pictures of him and everything. And I started thinking about this, and it brought me to a simple conclusion that, these two men, I don't care what they thought of them. They might have been party animals, they might have been drunks, they might have been all this stuff that they say about Pancho Villa, but the one thing that they did, they fought the federales, the federal government.
The revolution.
Over there. And when they finally got to a point where Benito Juarez would sold them out, they ended up fighting for their land. That's what this whole war was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of rode into the United States and, they did all this other crap. But the bottom line is this. The Mexican people allowed the elitists to take them over. I used to do business back there in the 80s.
Yeah.
There's only two groups of people. The very rich and the very poor.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I look at that, and I look at the Clintons, that's what they want for the U.S. That's why they want open borders. That's why they want all this chaos, is so that way they can have their elitist mentality and live the life that they want to live and not give up power. You know what they say about power? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what we have.
That's absolutely true. One thing that really sort of ticks me off is that you have Mexicans come from Mexico to the United States because they don't have jobs over there, because they have some very bad times in Mexico, so they come here.
Yeah, I know. I watched them work over there. They work for $1 a day.
Yeah. And so when they come over here, they still have their patriotism towards Mexico. Well,
they do.
To me, that's absurd. I mean, they're here in America.
And that was one thing that my father made very clear when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Because, Spanish was spoken in our house quite a bit.
Yeah.
And my mother became a teacher's aide in first grade. And once that happened, she started to realize that it was very important that we learn to speak English perfectly.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't allow Spanish to be spoken in the house anymore.
That's sort of the same way that I was brought up, the same way.
And their whole thinking was once you can speak English, and not that I speak it perfect, but once your grammar and your accent is gone, then you can speak Spanish. That's entirely up to you.
Sure.
But what I try to convey to I run into a lot of Mexican people all the time, either in markets and stores, at the rifle range. Now, most of the guys that I run into the range, they're already believers in the Second Amendment and the Constitution of this country.
Sure.
And most of them, a good portion of them that I meet, are learning English, and that doesn't mean they're going to give up their natural language.
Yeah.
and they're going through the process of becoming Americans.
Well, that is so
They
true.
see the benefit. But what this administration and Hillary are trying to do, the benefits that we have as Americans, they want to kill.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of that, so there is no more benefit.
Well,
That way we're just the poor, the have, and the have-nots.
yeah, in other words, they want to take the guns first.
Well, they can't do anything until they take that. And what they're doing is they're legislating gun owners into criminals. You know, if you bought a gun 20 years ago, slowly but surely that gun will be illegal in the next 20 years, even if you did it legally. Because these guys know what people say they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They understand what the Second Amendment means. And those people that make these laws are a threat to the American way of life.
Yeah.
And all Americans. They understand that they're being tyrannical. They understand that. And they understand the Second Amendment is to replace them one way or the other.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, let me ask you,
No,
Richard.
I just want to make it clear. I'm not threatening anybody. This is not a threat. It's a fact. All you have to do is get your book out and read the Bill of Rights. Not Bill's Rights. The Bill of Rights.
Yes. Okay, so let me ask you, Richard, you have
Sure.
many years of experience. And let's say, for instance, you are a leader of the conservative movement in America. What do you think, what will we do, what should we do as followers or as team players with you to take back and make America more conservative or conservative all across the board? What would you do?
Everybody's got a different approach. My whole thinking is that you can't get people to do things if they really don't understand what it is they're doing it for.
So education's first.
Yeah, I would go there. And I'm not talking about, my wife is helping teaching first and fifth graders right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at some of the paperwork she's doing and I go, what's this? Well, and by the way, they went to school in Columbus State, okay? They have no clue who Columbus is. Because as far as the left is concerned, he's a racist. So Columbus is history. They don't teach that anymore.
Wow.
And anyway, kind of lost my train of thought with all of this, but...
Well, I'm just basically asking you, as the leader of the conservative movement in America...
Okay, back to the education. Well, the first thing I'd make sure is that everybody understands the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yes, it was written in 1776. Yes, it was written by a bunch of white guys. Yes, these guys understood one thing. They sacrificed their fortunes and their lives to make this country great. Most people don't understand that.
Yeah.
They accuse them of everything you can think of. I'm not even going to list the stuff they come up with.
It was not a very good time for them. They sacrificed a lot.
No. They were fighting King George.
Yeah.
Now, most of these kids haven't got a clue what's in the Constitution or what it is. Why? Because it was written over 200 years ago. Who cares about that? It is the sole purpose that this country is great because of that document.
Now, let me ask you...
You need to read it and understand what it means.
Okay, and so this is what's sort of happening with socialism in America today, with Bernie Sanders and company, is they don't teach that in school anymore either, do they?
No, what they're teaching is everybody how to get free stuff. Once you put, they don't want to wean these people. If you're not going to get weaned, you're never going to understand. And for those who people don't understand that, what weaned is, I suggest you look it up. Because my description of it is not going to be very clear. Or it's not going to, probably rated X anyway.
Well, the good thing is we could talk whatever way we want to talk on this program. We haven't lost freedom of speech yet.
Yeah, we still have that. Anyway, the bottom line is this. If they understand, thoroughly understand, and when they're done reading the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, I suggest reading, a good read is the Federalist Papers. Understand what the Founding Fathers wanted. The primary thing was liberty. And freedom. That was the primary thing, not being under the thumb of some wealthy guy
or foreign dictator.
With a crown on his head.
Or a foreign dictator?
Yeah. Well, Well, there's no difference between a king and a dictator.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there isn't. I mean, we've got a king right now. We've got a dictator in the White House right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but the whole thing is once they understand the thinking of these great men that came up with this concept, they'll get a handle on what it is that lies in the future for them. If they don't do something and they continue walking down the street with their cell phone in their hand, not paying attention where they're walking, and texting the guy next to them or the girl next to them, they're going to end up losing that thing that's right in their hand.
Well, you know what's really powerful is that social media right now, because that is a great equalizer, because the way the media is corrupted, at least we have still a form of a way to broadcast our information, and we can get valuable insights on the way the world is. Unfortunately, the Democrats are trying to take over the internet too.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt they're going to do that, and they're going to tax it. They're trying to pass that streaming tax. You know, I don't think the trouble with millennials is they're not paying attention. Exactly. They're really not.
Yeah.
They're too busy looking at their cell phones. And as far as I'm concerned, they got their head in the butt.
Yeah. Well,
okay. And the idea of not serving in the military today is what's wrong. If you look at Israel, I'll tell you what, Israel will never go down in flames. Never. It'll be the last country to survive global war. It'll be here at the very end. It'll be gone. This country will be gone. Yeah. Israel will still be there. And the reason behind that is because every man, woman, and child understands their purpose and what's at stake if they fail to serve their country.
Well, you know, we only have 1% of our population now is the U.S. military.
Yeah, and you know what they're trying to do is, I call it the wussification of the male. And you know what? If you watch shows, especially comedy shows, even some commercials, they always put the male as a dunce.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that? Even insurance commercials.
Yeah. Okay.
No, just watch them. They always make the guy look like the dumbass.
Yeah.
Okay? He's the DA. The woman is I'm not holding anything against women here. I'm not trying to point out anything negative against them. More power to them. But what I'm saying is, you know, they make these movies about women with all these attributes with kicking butt and shooting guys and all these action movies, and I'm thinking to myself, there's probably one or two of them on planet Earth. In the United States.
Yeah.
You know, feminism, or the feminine Nazis, I call them, you know, pretty much wiped out this whole thing about man. You know,
I know manhood is really being lost. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the wussification of the male.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it's sad. And you know, and you walk, and you know, when you steal guys going to the military, and whatever branch they pick, the military is testosterone driven. I don't care if women are in it. I don't care. It is testosterone driven.
Yeah.
You know, and for those people that don't understand that, well, don't listen.
Sorry about that.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what happens after you get out of the military, you become a veteran. As you know, let me just go through some very basic statistics. Unfortunately, in America today, we're losing 20 veterans every single day to suicide. And so,
I'm very aware of that statistic.
And so we take that back and we look over the past 8 years, and I know I'm going to get some flack on this one, but if you go back 8 years to Obama's first day, that means that over 60,000 veterans have committed suicide since he's been in office. And if you look at that, that's more that died in the Vietnam War.
That's true. That's more people that's on the wall.
Yes, exactly. And you know, the Vietnam veteran really got the shaft by far more than any other wartime, more than any other veteran. You know, there's 1 in 4 homeless person in America is a veteran, but 50% of them are Vietnam veterans.
You know, it's a sad deal because, you know, the whole thing about that, you know, I am a 60s person, right?
Yes.
I love the music from that era. You know, the Doors were a big fan, Hendrix, Blind Faith, you know, all of them. And the unfortunate thing is when you look at the Woodstock group, which to me are all the zombies.
The Bill Clintons?
Yeah, you know, the Woodstock people, the Democrats, you know, the flower power, whatever you want to call it. We had different views, but we still enjoyed the same music.
Sure.
It was the politics that we differed so much of.
Yeah.
They called us baby killers. Now when you think about it, all the baby killers are Democrats.
Amazing.
So I'm not missing the boat by much when you think about, you know, the zombies, the Democrats.
Yeah.
They're all in favor of Roe versus Wade or whatever it is, the death of children.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand that thinking. And they have the audacity to call us baby killers.
Yeah, it's really tragic, you know, that, but I think the moral of the story or the lesson to be learned here is the VA is totally broken. And we need to do a better spotlight and keep doing that spotlight on them so that once Obama's out of office, the next president does much, much better because Obama has done a miserable job at taking care of the VA.
Well, if Hillary gets elected, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse.
The status quo, that's what they want.
He despises the military.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. So, but we, as veterans, as you, me, and other veterans, those that are listening, we really need to work harder so that the future veteran, the veteran that serves the military today and gets out tomorrow, they don't go through what the Vietnam veteran went through. Because it was it's probably a very dark time in American history that they allowed such great men and women that served America to go through what they went through.
You know, the sad part, this whole thing about suicide, I personally think it can be fixed, but we have bureaucrats, and that's what they are, bureaucrats, that don't care. The only thing they care about is their you know, they get at the end of the year for how many veterans are supposedly helped, their bonus.
Yes.
Well, what they should be getting is a boner, not a bonus.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty much, you know, I go to the VA, it's slow, it's sluggish. If you're in a hurry, well, it's simple, man, you're going to die.
Well, you know,
if you don't take care of the thing that needs to be prioritizing issues with veterans, one is suicide. That has to be his mental health. That's at the very top, should be number one. All the other physical issues that many of us have, because of either age or war or whatever it is, are really secondary. Because a mental health thing will end up you kill yourself.
Well, you know, I would say that you're absolutely right. Mental health is way, way, way up there. But a lot of times these physical conditions wear down a person's mind, and that turns it into like a secondary condition. So let's say, for instance, you've lost a leg or an arm, or you know you've an ear or an eye or whatever. It could be.
That does create a mental health issue.
Yes. Yes.
I have actually no problem with that. You know, the mental health issue is basically caused not just PTSD.
Yes.
But if you lose a pair of legs or use any ability to function as a human, it's going to affect your mind.
Oh yeah, exactly. Now then, you take a look at also is that the transition time from the time you leave the VA, from the U.S. military to the time you get into the VA bureaucratic mess, it takes years to finally get the services and benefits you get, if you get them properly. So just during that time frame, it's another wear and tear on the mind.
Well, there's no doubt about that, because that's why these guys end up pulling the trigger on themselves.
So, you know, my thinking is they have to do a better job in transition. I thought a long time ago is that the VA should be part of the Department of Defense, and there should be no transition time. It should be automatic. The day you leave the military is the day you are enrolled automatically in the VA, and you start getting benefits and services on day one.
That's a fact, and once they get that fixed, and the idea of these guys not being able to get fired, that has to be taken care of. The unions, I'm not a big fan of unions. I'm just not. They've pretty much destroyed most of the car companies. I'm really unhappy with Ford moving to Mexico.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that Trump will get Ford to help pay for that wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the new deal now is they're talking about all the drug dealing and all the crime that's on the border and all that stuff. Some of that money can be utilized towards building that wall.
I agree. And the tariffs, that's what I honestly believe he's going to do. He's going to put tariffs on the American companies that are bringing products back into the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing, he's going to make this thing fair trade. That's what he's going to do. Yeah. And these fools that we got running the country right now haven't got a clue. They don't know fair trade with him in the ass.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of problems with those trade deals, and America's suffering because of it.
Yeah, not only the trade deals, but some of these deals we made, especially over the nuke situation.
Yeah.
We got a couple of countries that are going to be out of control here. Well, we already have one that's out of control, and that's North Korea.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They've been out of control.
They've been out of control for a long time, but yeah, you're right.
And
Iran is the next one.
Once Iran gets enough material, they're going to have a nuke. I don't care what anybody says, but personally, I don't think it's going to get to that point. I do not think, regardless of what we do, Israel is going to allow that. Well, I just don't believe it.
I think you're absolutely right, Richard. I think that Israel will take care of business. And
so you have Netanyahu, who is a former military commander and understands war perfectly.
Yes.
We got these activists running our country that, they wouldn't know bad guy if he came over and kicked him in the ass.
Yeah.
They just don't. And to leave our guys behind over in Benghazi, they left them behind. So to me, Hillary is no different than Jane Fonda. She got these guys killed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And some people may forgive Jane Fonda. Well, they can forgive all they want. I'm not going to forget what she did.
Yeah.
And as far as her continuing succeeding with her life, screw her. These guys didn't get to grow up. They didn't get to have a family. They didn't get to have children. Some of them didn't even get to have sex.
Yeah. Well, the sad part about it is a lot of people just talk about the U.S. military and veterans, but you know what? It goes further than that. It's their families, too. The families.
It's a deep impact on the family. And, if you've seen American Sniper or 13 Hours,
sure,
you will see the impact on the family in both those movies.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just people that are about killing bad guys. If they're bad guys, I don't care what your view is. If they're bad guys, they're killing Americans. Chris counts for the best. Violence does solve problems.
Yeah.
That's under every hat and every T-shirt he ever made. And he's right. Look, violence is a bad thing. I'm not condoning it. But it is the job of the military.
Yeah.
We don't go around holding hands and delivering water. We kick ass. That's what they're supposed to do.
Well, and by doing that, you keep America safe too.
That's true. If we had generals like Patton and MacArthur, we wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't be. Or Chesty Puller. These guys understood what it takes to win and kick butt.
Now think about this, that if the politicians would have got out of the way for MacArthur and also Patton, Russia and China might not be there.
No, they don't be speaking English.
Pretty amazing. And it's sort of like history repeats itself.
But every time you get politicians involved, it's insane. I met a gentleman at the 50th reunion at Fort Irwin.
Yes.
That they held for Vietnam vets.
Yes.
And his name was, oh gosh, what's this guy's name? He came out in the movie We Were Soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
He was a news reporter.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, Joe, gosh, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. But he was the photographer in the movie We Were Soldiers. That movie was done by what's his name that did Passion of the Christ?
Oh.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, sure.
Okay, he did this movie, We Were Soldiers, and he did a great job. He really, really did a great job. But Joe, he was Joe Galloway, that was his name. He was the photographer, and I met him at the 50th year reunion.
Wow, that's cool.
At Fort Owen this year. And we got to talking, and when he gave his speech, the first thing that he said, the second thing, he of course said, "Hello, welcome," and he says, "I hate politicians." And that room was full of them.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no use for them.
Yeah.
Either party. And that's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah.
No uses, because all politicians, maybe one out of every state, maybe thinking about the American people. But the first thing that you do, John, you ran for office, I ran for office.
Yes.
I learned one thing running for office. The very first thing you got to start doing when you go in office is start getting ready to campaign for your next one.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. You know,
understanding that, if people understand what these people do, to me, it's insane. When the Republican Party in 2000, when I ran up there in Tulare County, the Republican Party sat down with these fools and, well, what kind of laws are you going to make? And I said, a law to not make any. They didn't like me from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Richard.
Life and all the other pro-American things, they had absolutely no use for me.
Well, during your campaign, you did very, very well. And
yeah, we did. We did do good. We actually, we beat that, almost beat that lesbian woman, and she got about a couple thousand votes. Well,
it's pretty amazing that she's no longer an elected official either.
Yeah.
So I think it took a little time for the message to sink in, but she's no longer a factor in politics in California. And
you know what I find really strange too, and this may or may not be on the same subject here. People of Mexican descent, or let's just say Hispanic or Latino, are Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say 80% are Catholic.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot be a Catholic and a Democrat. See, you really can't, because they clash. Because the Democratic Party believes in abortion, the Catholic Church doesn't believe in abortion. So my whole thing to most Catholics is, how do you justify this?
Yeah.
Not with me. How do you justify this with your God?
Yeah. Well, and that's just the point. Unfortunately, or fortunately, they will see God one day.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
at the gates.
And that's when, unfortunately, they're going to pay the biggest price.
That's right. Their name is not going to be in the book of life.
Exactly.
Hey, I understand, being a Christian, and I'm not going to make any bones about being a good one or a perfect one. The only perfect Christian, or God-fearing human being that was put on this planet was Jesus Christ, and look what they did to him.
Sure.
So, when I think about it,
Richard,
I may not be perfect, but I did the best I could do while I was here.
But just think of the treatment that Jesus was given by the government at that time compared to the treatment we've been got from the government today. There's no comparison.
You're getting pretty close. But the only thing they haven't done is put us in. They're planning on it. Put us in chains, and
But they'll never say never. Never say never.
Yeah, never say never.
But no, I think
John. Before we run out of time, and
we've got another 5 minutes or so. But yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I think it's important to share with all your listeners is that if they haven't purchased a firearm, they need to do it now.
Yes.
I don't care where they live. For those of you who are hearing this, you need to purchase a firearm. Make sure you understand how it functions. If you're new to a gun, buy a revolver. If you can pull the slide back on the semi-auto, buy Glock. Buy 9mm because that ammo is the most plentiful around the planet. It's It's not my choice. I'm a 45 guy.
How about a shotgun? Is a shotgun good?
A shotgun is very effective. But the one thing about, there's two things you got to really understand about shotguns.
Yes.
Number one is if 12 gauges have heavy recoil. So small framed people, especially women, are going to have an issue with that.
Okay.
So if they decide that they still want a shotgun, go to a 20 gauge.
20 gauge,
You
okay.
still have effective range, it's still devastating, and the recoil is down about 50%.
And if you shoot, when you shoot that, you're most likely going to hit your target.
Yeah, well, of course, home defense ammunition, you're going to always use double-aught buck.
Okay.
Bird shot is directional and doesn't always go where you want it to go.
Yeah.
But double-aught buck is pretty effective.
Yeah.
And of course, the second thing would be a handgun. But either gun, either firearm, make sure you have a minimum
And both
500 rounds of ammunition.
and both of you can get it done. You'd have the more the better.
Yeah, the thing that you got to get done is they got to get it done before this year's out, because all the new laws that are coming into effect, especially in California. And by the way, Nevada is picking up a lot of California laws.
Oh my.
Yeah, so I was looking at that, and I'm trying to decide are we going to move to Nevada or Arizona.
Well, maybe we still got time to fight Nevada. Maybe you come to Nevada and help fight those crazy lawmakers, those career politicians.
I would prefer Nevada over Arizona.
Yes.
They're both deserts, but Joe Arpaio's a good friend of mine.
Yes. Yes.
And I do some work with those guys.
Yes.
But the whole thing is that, and not only that, it's natural disasters you have to prepare for, because when people get hungry, they become violent.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to protect yourself and your family. So make sure you have at least 3 to 5 days of water and dry goods.
Hey, Richard, we have about 2 or 3 minutes left. So, in summary, bottom line, first of all, let's go back to that, some more contact information. People want to get in touch with you. Go ahead and go back.
All my contact information is on my website, shortrifles.com.
Excellent.
They can, if they got any questions, they can either email me there or call me.
And
phone rings in my home, my shop, and my office.
Well, Richard, you are a true American, and I appreciate your friendship. And I think that I'm never going to give up. In fact, my father, my father passed away now. He passed away last month. And
I didn't know that, John.
Yeah, so unfortunately, God finally took him home, and he's in heaven. But
well, I'm really sorry. My deepest condolences to you.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, he was a great man, and
Very great man.
It was pretty incredible. He would always ask me, John, when are you going to be done? I said, Dad, I'm not going to be done until I'm 6 feet under.
Yep. Well, look at it, John. Thank you for the opportunity, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Yeah, Richard, thanks again, and we'll be in touch. And anything I can do to work with you, you let me know.
Okay, man. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Well, that's been another great show of Conservative Roundtable. I really want to thank Richard Cabral and his great insight on protecting our rights and the Bill of Rights and being American. That's truly a great thing that we all work together to achieve unity and make America great again. So I would say, bottom line, go out there. I think today might be the last day in some states to register to vote. If you haven't registered to vote, go out and register. Vote. And when you vote, when you cast your vote, vote for Donald Trump, because we cannot afford the status quo anymore. We cannot afford more of the problems we have in America. So thank you. I appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow, or we'll talk to you tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is John Estrada, Conservative Roundtable. Thank you very much. God bless.
We're off.
Excellent.
Go ahead and step to the camera.